by Kevin and Lori. We don't have sponsors yet, but we're going to get them eventually. But anyway, we're going to give it just a couple of seconds to get some people on here because people do know that we are live. People are watching. They're not watching yet. They will be shortly. Because, the last thing we're going to do is start talking, and then all of a sudden people are like, whoa, where were you at? Where were you at? I was like, well, you should have got on here at 9 o'clock.
I have a question, Kevin.
Yes.
It's important. So, do I see the chats and be live, or do I go to the Facebook page to see the chats and the comments and respond? Or can I do either?
Well, because you're a guest, as of right now, you're not going to see them. But if you go to Facebook, you will see them just as fast as I do.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, we've got one viewer. Please, whoever's watching, please drop a comment where you're watching from. I want to know where you're watching from. The second thing I would like for you to do is, without name calling and without being a butt, just leave your comment where you're watching from and who you're voting for. That's what I want to know.
Oh, wow. You're going right in.
I am.
What's up, Mr. Brave soul today?
Praying for your father, buddy boy. Praying for your father. So, okay, well, we've got a couple of people watching. So let's get what now. Tell me what did you want to discuss tonight?
I wanted to discuss the election. You and I have had conversations about the whole absentee ballot voting thing.
Ooh,
I want to talk about that. I have one right here. I was going to show it to you, and show proof to you that it doesn't say Democrat or Republican on anywhere on it. So nobody's going to grab a whole bunch of Republican votes and throw them in the fucking trash.
So let me tell you something that happened today at the post office, exactly half a mile from my house.
What?
So I don't know if your neighborhood does it, but my neighborhood has a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, we have a next door one. We have a next door group.
Everybody and their little sister loves to comment, oh, there's a car on this street. Oh, someone's dog is out. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, today, someone posted with a picture of our post office, somebody, the little blue boxes you put your mail in that are out on the curb, post office, somebody broke into that thing and stole all of the mail out of it.
That happens all the time.
Funny thing is that someone said, see, they're trying to steal the ballots. And I was like, well, hold on, wait a second. Why don't we look at it objectively? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I was like, could there possibly been some Social Security checks in there? I mean, could there be other reasons someone broke into it? Maybe someone wrote a letter that they were very, very upset with themselves about once they collected their thoughts and couldn't let that one go.
That had to be a serious letter.
Well, my point is that I don't want to directly blame it instantaneously on they're trying to do voter fraud, because I think that's one it's very narrow-minded in my opinion.
I mean, I don't know, but here's what I do know. If I wanted people to think that there was widespread voter fraud going on, I would be going around trashing mailboxes. If that's what I wanted people to jump to. If that was my strategy, that's what I would do.
Okay. So,
but I don't see why any individual person that's not part of some group or organization would run the risk of committing a federal felony.
Yeah.
Who's Brian Barber? Oh, he's like a motorcycle dude, right?
He's my motorcycle friend.
I might vote for him too, Bruno. So Brian sounds like a lovely guy.
So Bruno, just to let you know who Bruno is, I call him Uncle Bruno. He is a sweetheart. He's from New Hampshire. He's a real estate agent and a developer. He does so much in my mind for my show, The Grind. He always posts up people's links. He will sit here while you and I are talking, and he will go somewhere, find a link that we're talking about, and post it in the comments. He is a sweetheart of a man, and he's just the bomb. He really is. This is my brother
I'm
Mike.
lovely, Bruno. Nice to meet you.
You would absolutely fall in love with Bruno and his wife. I mean, you just would. You can't not.
I fall in love with a lot of people's wives, though, so that doesn't say much.
So, okay, so let's jump into this. You start with your first topic.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. It rolls right into what I was talking about, which is absentee ballots. I've seen a lot of rhetoric on the right that is, and even from, the president himself, that mail-in ballots are fraught with voter fraud, right? Absentee ballots are okay, but this universal mail-in ballot thing is somehow not okay. But there's no universal mail-in ballot. I live in Georgia, Republican governor, Republican Secretary of State, and just so everybody knows, Secretary of State in most states actually run the election. So this is a ballot, official absentee ballot. See, it's got my mother's name. Let me not put my address up there, though, just because this is out into the interwebs. But, I mean, you open it, and you've got your ballot. All mail-in ballots are absentee ballots by definition. You can't be at the polls. You'll be absent from voting in person, so they send you one of these. To try to characterize it as some, weird voter fraud agenda is ridiculous when there's absolutely no evidence of it. See these little codes on it? They're all numbered. Even the return envelope that this has to go in. Oh, and by the way, there's rules. The ballots have to go in this. If they are not in this, they are not counted. Do you know what this is?
No.
This is a secrecy envelope. So you take your ballot after it's completed, you put it in here, and no one can see through it, right? To see what you're voting, to decide that they want to steal your vote. And then it goes in there, and it goes in here, and it has to be signed right here. My mom has a special little scanned code. It's got her name printed here. So my point is, people who choose to vote, like my mother, who is 72 and is concerned about the health risks, doesn't want to go to the polls and vote. And why should she have to? All of a sudden, why is absentee ballot just this sort of villainous thing? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand this whole thing. So can you explain it to me from your side of the aisle?
Okay, so from my side of the aisle, here's what I think. I think that before Trump, and I'm just going to say before him because let's face it, before Trump, and not completely, but before Trump, I didn't get involved in this shit. There was not this much discord in our country before.
But you voted before Trump became president, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So my opinion on the mail-in ballots are for specific situations. I do think that if you're that afraid that your vote is not going to get counted or it's going to get stolen or it's going to get whatever, then by all means take the day off work and go vote in person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it just like the mask. If you're that afraid that the COVID's going to get you, wear your mask. If you're afraid that your vote's going to get stolen, then go do it in person. Don't get shitty with the people that don't want to vote in person, that want to do a mail-in ballot. Let them do a mail-in ballot. It to me, and this probably will upset you and upset a lot of people. To me, it's not that big a deal. I think it's been something that's happening for years and years and years. It's not brand new that you do
absentee ballots, or
yeah,
that's right. It's been around.
So it's been around forever, but right now it's the issue. Now it's an issue. Mm-hmm. It's an issue because of President Trump. I'm not saying it's President Trump's fault. I'm saying that the left and the right are such at odds that now it's an issue because it's like, well, we can face it. You have extreme leftists and extreme rights. It's the way it is now. It's almost like that's the normal. Well, your extreme lefts are just as freaking crazy as your extreme rights are. So
agreed.
Realistically, do I think there are cases where you have an extreme left postal person that just
it could be either.
Well, you're right. but I'm speaking from the left side because I'm on the right. You can defend the left. I think it could happen. I'm not going to discount it and say it's not plausible that it could happen. I think it could happen. But what I don't like to hear is I don't like it that you live your life the way you live your life. I love you because I know who you are. Whether I like the way you live your life, the way you raise your kids, the way you comb your hair, the way you do your makeup, those are irrelevant things in my world. What's relevant in my world is how in the hell you treat me, how you treat my family. If you talk and you don't back it up, well, then I'm sorry, you're a piece of shit in my mind.
Okay.
You've always backed it up, whether I liked it or whether I didn't. You have to respect that, you know.
Right.
But that's my opinion on the absentee, because you brought it to my attention that, you know, you have military servicemen that are overseas. They still get a vote, but they have to do a mail-in ballot.
Right.
I don't know that to be 100% true or 100% false, because I've never been in the military and I've never been in a situation in the military where I mail in the vote. Maybe they actually have all of their votes just like we have ours, and they're in sealed containers and they ship them over all at the same time. I don't know how it works. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't either. Well, I only know how it works here where I live in Georgia, because I'm seeing the comments. Because I'm voting in person in this election, but in the midterm, which was obvious, like in April, I think it was in the height of, not the midterms, the primaries. I wasn't going to a poll, so I did vote absentee, and I had, but because there's no getting a mail-in ballot without requesting an absentee ballot. You have to go online, log into your voter page. Right? Because here we can track it all, right? So go into my voter page, and then it tells me where I live, what my districts are, how long I've been a registered voter. And at that point, I then have to go to this link and request a ballot, an absentee ballot, at which point I get an email. And in my email, it tells me that I have to reply with a copy of my driver's license, front and back, right? And I have to fill out this form that's an official form with my signature requesting the ballot. So I did that. And then this exact same ballot was mailed to me. So I can only speak for here. I don't know what other states do. And maybe that's part of the disconnect between my side and your side, is because I know that here, in order to cast a vote in the state of Georgia, I have to have an ID. That's the law. Maybe that isn't the law in some states that I'm not aware of. And if you can quote me or, you know, give me some examples of states where they're just willy-nilly mailing out ballots and it's not something they've done before this year, then I'd love to know about it, because I'm not aware of them. But from where I'm sitting, the attack on mail-in voting is an attack on people like my mother, who's voting for, you know, general concern for her well-being. And I don't think that makes her a criminal. Right?
I agree. Which, man, I want to bring my brother on here so bad with you, but I can't.
I hear you, Mike, but which states? Give me examples so I can do my research. I'm all about the research. I don't go by what people tell me. Give me examples of states who are actively doing this today, and that is somehow impacting. Well, you're saying that they send them out to every registered voter in the state to their last known address. Personally, that sounds a little far-fetched, but if you have valid examples of states who are currently doing it, let me know. I'd love to do some research. That's all I ask. Just give me the details. I'll look it up. No spin. I don't need rhetoric. I like data. I'm a data chick.
Okay. So now, since we've got that topic going, what was the next topic? Because we're staying on top tonight, sweetheart, because I'm not going to bed at 10:30 tonight.
I'm with you. I'm not either. The thing, well, it ties in, because there's two things I wanted to talk about other than absentee ballots. One of them is the Supreme Court seat, which I think is important for a number of reasons. Number two was I wanted to talk about just the election itself. And kind of, I wanted to touch on COVID because COVID sort of affects everything that we do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to talk to you about that. Not about like where anybody has failed us. You know what? Scrap COVID. Here's what I want to talk about. I'm going to tell you what I want to talk about. Something happened today.
Yeah.
That, not the stuff you and I were talking about earlier, but something happened today. Someone I love and respect posted something on Facebook. And ordinarily, with the exception of you, I just sort of.
Okay, so it really wasn't me then?
It really wasn't you. No.
Okay.
No. It was someone in my family that I absolutely adore and I think is just amazing. He posted this thing, and it's a thing, and people post shit all the time, right? It's an anti-Biden sort of thing, supposedly copied from this guy to this guy, and it's all supposedly been fact-checked and snoped out, and so and it wasn't like a meme, it was an actual copy and paste thing. And so as I'm reading it, and I'm reading it as if it's this person that I adore saying it. And it was literally like somebody punched me in the stomach. I took it so personally. And I struggled because it's someone I love so much. I really struggled with, do I just dismiss it as bullshit? Do I say something and risk like this thing in our relationship, which I don't want, But I couldn't just sit with it because it felt, I'll break it down to it. You've probably seen it. It's this thing about Joe lied again last night about how his wife was killed, and it sort of twisted. You saw that. Okay. So as I'm reading that, and there was one part where he said and I'm quoting, it was like, and there were certain parts, if you remember, that were completely capitalized, like to provide emphasis. It was the part where he referred to this woman as your inane wife, leaned over the back seat to, whatever, control your unruly kids.
Yep. That's right.
And you were driving with her daughter on her lap, all in caps. And I just thought, really? Like we're really going to vilify a woman who has been dead for 48 years, who lost a child? Are we really going after a man who has buried a wife, now 2 children? Because to me, it seems pointless because, come on, we're better than this. There's so many policy things. No, let me finish. There's so many policy things you can attack this man on, but to attack a widow and to call into question this woman's, because, well, first of all, do you know the definition of inane? What do you know what it means?
Nope.
It means silly or stupid, is what that means. So the reason it hit me so personally is because, like you, I grew up in Texas. And I was born in the year this woman died. Some of my best memories, Kevin, are riding on the lap of my mother while she's driving, or standing on the lap of my papa while he taught me how to drive his old beat up pickup truck out on country roads. So if this woman was silly or stupid for driving with her child in her lap 13 years before there was any child safety restraint. You and I both know there were half the cars we grew up in didn't have seatbelts, and there was no car seats in those days. We rode in the front seat right next to our mothers with no things. So if this woman who was taking her kids' Christmas shopping is silly or stupid, then so is every woman that I love, that raised me, that let me ride on their lap. And I found it absolutely repugnant. And it made me think of my mother. It made me think of my aunt, who's now deceased. And I was so mad. So I responded, right? But then I thought, why did you take it so personally? He wasn't even talking about me. You know what I mean? But I think that's the power. And we've talked about this before. When you put stuff out there, people think it's your opinion. They think it's you saying it because they value you. They trust you. So they take what you put out there as fact. And so when I read this, I read it as if this person was saying it, and it felt like he was saying it about people I cared about. And I took it like I overreacted, I think. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't about me.
You're right. Okay, so I read the same thing, and this might upset you, and I'm not meaning it to upset you. I just want you to look at it through a different set of eyes.
Right.
So what I'm personally thinking is whoever wrote it is a shithead. That's what I'm thinking. But when you read it and you read it all the way through, there was an innocent man's life ruined in a very tragic situation. When the people that were killed, God rest their souls, it would have been very easy for Biden to have said, you know, look at all these facts and all these things that happened. It was not the truck driver's fault that killed my wife and my kid. It was a freak accident, and that man shouldn't have served 48 years in prison, ultimately dying in prison, from what I know.
Okay, first of all, that is not true. That man never served a day in prison. He was never charged with a crime.
Hold on. That's my point. But when somebody like me that doesn't know the history from 51 years ago, that doesn't know that, and they read that, just like myself, when I read that, I bled because a mother and kids were killed. But at the end of it, I found out that there was a man that served 48 years in prison. Not knowing that history, not knowing the story, not knowing all of it, you're like,
not knowing that it's actually true.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. But people post this shit. They read it. They don't fact check anything because it said at the bottom, fact checked and Snopes. So you assume it's true, but you don't bother to do your own research. And then you put that shit out into the ether for it to be ingested by every other dumb motherfucker that's too lazy to research shit.
I agree. And this is where I agree with you. It's just like, hold on. Hey, I'm equal, baby.
I'm looking at Greg with I remember, let me tell you, I remember because I have people in Louisiana. So we would drive often from Texas to Louisiana, and I shit you not, we were on lawn chairs in the back of an El Camino. Like, none of us would do that today, obviously, because we know better. But that, you know what I mean? That was one of the best parts of my childhood. Like, we wanted to ride in the back so that when we drove past the truck drivers, we'd do this and get them to honk their horns. We were living.
And would you let your kids ride?
Hell no. Because I believe science and data that says, you know what, too many kids have fallen out and gotten killed. So don't be a statistic. You know what I mean? But this was before they measured those things. You know what I mean?
It was before they had the technology to measure those things.
Right. So, it was before, I mean, go ahead.
So I appreciate what you just said. I understand how that upset you. And I wouldn't blame you, but I would definitely reach out to that person. And here's what I did. I would actually go to the state, get the newspaper article on Fish, which is available on any computer nowadays, and pull it up and say, hey, here's the proof. The guy didn't actually serve a day in jail.
He was never charged. And what they also leave out is that, and he has not even brought it up, this man, in 13 years. And when he makes the comment, my wife was killed when she was in a car accident and was broadsided by an 18-wheeler. Well, that is a fact. He hit her on the broad side. That's what broadsided means. It doesn't mean malicious intent. Doesn't mean you were drunk. He is stating the story as it is stated in a police report. You know what I'm saying? So he realized that this stuff had gotten out of hand, And 13 years ago, he called that man's daughter and apologized for any pain that his comments had caused them. So it's not like he's out here every day and they post it like he just said it in the debate. He never mentioned that. You know what I mean? But people that don't watch it, they're like, oh, that mother, you know, and it's like, come on, guys, it's not hard. Just fact check.
But that's the reality of all of it now.
But how do we accept that? How do we allow ourselves to be such an uneducated electorate that we are now systematically giving the government more and more and more power over our lives?
So I have a theory.
I don't get it.
I have a theory.
I love your theories are awesome.
So here's my theory.
They're better when I'm high, but they're awesome.
So when you were a kid, now you got to work with me on this one because it's a little bit of a long theory. When you were a kid, did your mom and dad or caregiver, whomever, did they ever lock you outside for the day and make you go play all day?
Well,
whether locking out was a verbal or it was physically locking.
Right. No, at no point was I ever like locked out of my house and you can't come in. And if you got to go to the bathroom, pee in the bushes. It was never, I didn't have that. Wasn't raised by wolves.
Okay. So
but the rule was you go outside and you play and you come back in when the lights come on. And by that time, dinner will be waiting. That was my childhood. So if it was the summertime, from like 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 in the morning, we were outside. And we didn't come in till like 6, 7 o'clock.
Okay. So let me hurry up and finish. I'll lose train of thought and be screwed. So as time has gone on, things have naturally changed, evolved. To get my oldest son, who's 28 now, about to be 29 in April, to get him to go do the exact same thing I did when I was a kid, it's not going to happen because their era, their time for everything is different now. So when you talk about how did we get to this point, it's very easy. Technology did this. Laziness did this. The fact that our kids, and I'm as guilty of it as the next guy is, it's much easier as a parent that's worked 12 hours a day, come home, pop in a movie, and just sit back and watch a movie with your kid so you can get 10, 15, 20 minutes of some sleep. But you know your kid's taken care of because you're not going to send your kid outside like you used to because shit's just not right anymore. Abductions happen all the time, all this crazy shit. So how did we get to the point where politics like this are so screwed up that we can't do it? It's the generation that we raised. And the bad thing is now you have a generation that's being raised by that generation, and people don't do homework. They do TikTok, they do Instagram, they do fucking Facebook. It's the truth.
But you're not of the TikTok generation and you didn't do the research. So what is your excuse?
My excuse is that I was raised in a household where there was no college talk. There was no huge educational talk. There was no racism talk. There was no politics. I mean, for the longest time, we didn't even go to church. I mean, we didn't have those conversations. So I didn't know about them, which is why I said when I voted in 2008, it was different. I voted before, but I've never taken the time to learn anything. Fuck, when I got out of high school, my mom was like, shit, hell yeah. 564 people. I graduated like 563, just be clear and honest. That's the truth. I was concentrating on getting out of high school than I was getting the education they were providing. So I did what it took, got out of high school and went to work. Okay. Right. Which is not a bad thing. I mean,
not at all.
I think I'm a bad person. I think for what I am, I'm pretty educated. Now I'm getting more educated. Now I'm finding out more things. Now I'm doing more research. I wish I'd have done it when I was younger, but it's just like hunting. I don't hunt. My dad's never took me hunting, but they barely took me fishing. And I don't do any of that shit. What I do, I make shit with my two hands and give it to the guys that go hunting. They bring me back meat. We have a system. It works great. I would like to do those things one day, but I wasn't brought up that way. So in my system, it didn't count. It wasn't there. So I do think you have a lot of people that are a lot like me. That those things were never offered to them. And let's face it, your kids are only going to learn what you put in front of them, which I was going to ask you that question, and it's personal. But do you raise your kids Democratic, to be Democrats, or do you raise them to be free thinkers, or do you raise them to be Republicans? Do you predetermine what your kids, the information they get?
No, I don't. And I'm going to tell you why. I teach my kids values, right? So kindness, empathy, compassion. I am completely disavow racism or sexism, and particularly. I saw that. It made me laugh. You're a funny dude, Mike. You got jokes. So I don't, because I know that values are static. They do not move. Parties change all the time. Don't forget, the party's crisscrossed. You know what I mean? What you see now as a Democratic is the old Republican. I mean, the new Democratic Party is the old Republican Party. You know what I mean? And a lot of people forget, Texas was staunchly Democratic for most of its existence. And it was only after Jimmy Carter, and, they started all that after Jimmy Carter was the last, because Jimmy Carter won the nomination in Texas. And for most of Texas history, it always voted for a Democratic president. But after Jimmy Carter, they went to Reagan. And that's when, because the Democratic Party became a little too liberal for some people. So those people broke off, right? They used to be called the Southern Democrats or the Dixiecrats. They all gone too far. So they jumped to the right, to the Republican Party, which used to be over here, but started going. It was a weird thing that happened. So for all I know, it's going to happen again. So I'm teaching my kids values, because and for me too, I vote by value. I don't vote by party. I never have. I voted mostly Republican for a long time. I'm from Texas, after all.
Well, okay. So the reason I ask you that is because Cade, and I'll say his name because I love him.
Right.
So Cade comes home from school a couple of weeks ago, and he literally told me, he goes, "Oh God, I hate these men. They're stupid. They don't do anything."
Right.
At the dinner table, 7-year-old.
Because he heard you say it.
I was like, dude, you cannot take my opinion to school with you. You can't do that. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So he asked me and his mom we sit down at the dinner table every night and have dinner. We're trying to do it old school. That's the way we want him raised. Sit down with your family, have dinner, talk about your day. So he asked us, he goes, "Why does everybody hate Trump? Do y'all like Trump? Do y'all hate Trump?" And you don't know what to tell your child when he's 7. I just tell him, "Me and your mom are Republicans. We are voting for Trump." "Well, who do I vote for?" I said, "You don't vote. You vote when you."
It's funny. My son asked me today if they get to vote, and I said no.
And he asked me why.
Mine did too. What'd you say? I'll tell you what I said.
My explanation to my kid is you don't have enough brain yet to vote. What do you mean? Well, because you're only at a 2nd grade level. You need to have a high school diploma so that you know how to use your brain to decipher everything you're going to see, to decide who you actually want to vote for. I can't tell you who to vote for. You may grow up and decide you don't believe in anything I've raised you with. Who knows? Right. I won't know that until you're there. He asked me, "Well, who's Devin vote for?" I said, "We're not talking about Devin tonight."
No, I don't tell them. At one time, I think we watched the inaugural address, and I let my kids watch it because I thought it was going to be kind of like Obama's, all hopeful and, you know what I mean? And it wasn't. So I'm sitting there with my kids, And at the time, I mean, my daughter would have been 7, my son would have been 9, and my kids watched him, and it was really the first sort of understanding they had. I mean, they had like a mock election at their school, and they did vote for either Trump or Clinton, but it was over bullshit. But after he talked, his whatever he was talking about, American carnage and stuff like that, my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mommy, he's scary. Why is he so angry? Didn't he win?" And I said, "Yes, honey, he won. He won." And so that was sort of how their introduction to Trump was Trump in his own words and Trump in all his glory. So they were afraid of him just from that, But now we don't talk about politics, and I don't watch it or listen to it when they're around. And it's the same thing with religion. I think that I told my son when he asked if they were voting, I said no. And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because you're not old enough." I said, "If you want to have a pretend vote between you and your sister, we can pass around a hat and you could drop your ballot in so you feel like part of the process." I support that because I want them to be civic minded and I want them to go out and vote their conscience, But it's like the only opinion you have right now is the one that I give you, based on how I live my life. But I think Mike should come on here sometime. But
Well,
I think no.
I will do this at the 45-minute mark. I will give him the last 15 minutes because I swear to God, you are going to go at it with him. But I'm going to tell you both right now, I control the ticker. So if it's going and y'all keep going, all I got to do is push stop. Are we clear? If you're clear with that, then
hold on. I have rules. I have rules of engagement.
Okay.
We can debate all day, but I demand respect. No name calling. I don't want to hear libtard, snowflake, nothing. We can have a civilized debate and talk facts and facts. I'll be here with you all day, Mike. You'll be my new debate husband because I love debate. But I'm not into the name calling. I'll be out. That's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do here. Fair enough? Did she just tell me to shut up?
Hold on. Wait a second. No, I'm pretty sure he didn't tell you to shut up. Pretty sure he told me to shut up. Hold on. I'm over on Facebook real fast. Okay. So hi, Nancy. Thanks for watching, hon. I appreciate it. He goes, "I need on here." He goes, "Laugh my ass off. Shut up." And that ain't me. Okay. So he's clearly talking to me. So
okay.
You can eat a bag.
So I don't think he wants to come on. Well, but anyway, I think we should all let our kids decide who they're going to be. Teach them right from wrong. Teach them good and bad. That's our job as parents, to raise future adults. But as future adults, they're going to have to make their own decisions. But I think what we do teach them now is how we feel about people who don't think like us. So I always worry that and that's why I wanted to, I'm all about compromise. My kids are like, "Well, I want to do this or that." And I'm like, you can do this or you can do this. You have a choice. You always have a choice. It may not always be the choices you want, but you have a choice. Yeah. But if we don't teach our kids how to be civil and how to be kind, and we can't do that, even on topics like this that are hard and are personal, if we can't show them how to do it, how are they ever going to do it?
Well, I think one thing is you said it perfectly. Mike's on. I've got him muted right now just because we're still talking. So I think a lot of it has to do with like the way that I'm raising Kay. Mm-hmm. Is that what's up, William? Thanks for watching, man. Is you can't get pushed too many times without pushing back. You've always got to listen to what someone says because you may misinterpret what they're saying. Give them a chance to explain themselves.
Right.
Okay. If you disagree with them, it's okay to disagree with somebody. I disagree with my best friend all the time, but we still love each other immensely. I disagree all the time with my wife, but I love her immensely. I disagree with my own brother all the time, but I love him immensely, and I like to talk. Like, just like with you, I know what your triggers are, and sometimes they're on purpose. And they're on purpose because I like it. I like you standing up and going, okay, Dillhole, in the post.
But I often don't. I often just let that. I'm just like, I'm too tired today. I can't.
But see, you taught me something. So when I do certain things like that, it's not because I'm trying to spread hate. I'm trying to get you to tell me, hey, is that what this is?
Why not call me? Because we
don't have time, because you and I don't know how to have a 2-minute phone call. We have 4-hour phone calls.
Okay, well then here's the thing. Because yes, I can put a message on there and say, okay, Kevin, this is data factually inaccurate, right?
But you didn't do that.
By then, 35 people have shared that shit. So there's like fake news just going all over the place. It's like you're like a fake news farm. It's a hurricane.
But today's fake got shared twice. And when you said what you said, it actually spread the good of what you were saying too, because in the actual post that I shared, it actually showed you the data. So it worked out for you and me both.
But why don't people check the data before they share stuff? This is we're late. We're behind.
We're not late. We're lazy. We're lazy.
Well, I'm not, and I wish more people.
And
I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off that everybody's fighting to elect a president that we don't actually elect. We don't elect the president. We vote for the president. And if he happens to get all the votes in our state, we elect electors to go vote for us. And last time in 2016, did you know that there were 2 faithless electors in the state of Texas? One voted for, I don't even know who it was, Ron Paul. One voted for Ron Paul. And I think one actually voted for Pence. So can you imagine if this election is close by any stretch, and it comes down to like a 268, 269 electoral tie, a virtual tie. And then come January 6th, when the Senate opens and all these electors that we've elected, that we've told this is who we want, so you go pick him. Imagine if 2 put in, because what were some of the other ones? I think Colin Powell was one of the nominees from a faithless elector. So can you imagine just 2? If just 2 of those say, you know what? And they're from Texas. And even though they're from Texas, they don't like Trump, and they didn't vote for him in 2016. So now guess what? The count changes, and now the Democrats have won. So now Biden is your president.
Oh,
you gonna be okay with that?
Don't threaten me like that.
Are you okay with that? Because that is our system right now that everybody is fighting over, and what we should be doing is fighting them to change it.
Pterodactyl. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Everybody welcome my brother Mike. He is coming in
Mike.
Now. There we go.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
I don't know if y'all keep breaking up, and I don't know if it's y'all are breaking up or the video.
It's you.
I think it's you.
Once I got on here. But anyway, yeah.
Maybe your bandwidth is low. What if he turns off his video and just uses just calls in? And then it wouldn't, because he may not have the Wi-Fi bandwidth.
Well, I had video. I had. Am I freezing up or having a problem with y'all now?
It's very. That's better. That's better.
Okay. Well, anyway, so earlier you said something about you didn't understand how things have changed so much to where we seem to be losing our rights. The government's getting bigger, and they just keep taking over this, that, and the other. Is that what you said?
You're paraphrasing and you're sort of taking it out of context, but yeah, okay. Well, I'll roll with you on this.
Well, no. What did you say? Because that's what it sounded like. I just caught
what
part
I
of it.
Said
it
is what I was. We were talking specifically about elections, And what I'm
Oh,
saying
shit.
is that we have given government officials the right to continue the power grab that they've been on for decades.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering. The people in Congress right now do not represent the people of America.
Okay, I agree with that.
Not by
I
a lot.
agree with that.
But yet we continue putting people in those positions to continue these same things. Why do we still have an electoral college? For the very reasons I just said. Every American's vote should count. Am I wrong or am I right?
Well, sure,
Every American
every
citizen,
legitimate
American.
vote should count, yes.
Okay, explain to me what an illegitimate citizen is.
Well, just like you were talking about the ballots. The
Yeah.
only thing anybody had a problem with they had nothing to do with absentee ballots. Absentee ballots require you to identify who you are. You have to
Right.
have a freaking, somebody notarize it and all this other kind of stuff. But what we were hearing on the news that some of the states were wanting to do was take a list of all the people that are registered to vote in that state and send out ballots and let everybody just use these mail-in ballots. So once they get their ballot, it comes to an address where this guy lived, 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't live there anymore. And
Right.
the people that live there, they happen to be Democrats. I'm just going to fill this out. I'm going to vote Democrat for him. Thanks. I'm going to vote for him. So you telling me that you don't think that could be just a huge voter fraud take place with something like that going on?
Well, I don't know. What I will say
mean-
is that I don't know that is what is happening anywhere. Because the only
Well, no, I don't know that it's happened yet either. They just talked
honey,
like
the election has
that's the way it was
started.
going to
So if
happen.
it was going to happen, 150,000 people have already voted. The election has, and that's just in my state. The election has begun. So if they were going to do that, it would have been done by now. So what I'm open-minded. So if this is happening, if you're in one of the states that's just willy-nilly sending out ballots, I'd love to see what they look like. And I would love to see if they don't say official absentee ballot. All I know that changed this year with this election, with the COVID thing, is that they gave an additional option as a reason. Because most states, you have to have a reason to not go to the polls. You can't just decide.
What they're doing this all has to do with the COVID-19 because, they're just saying, well, everybody's afraid to vote, so let's just send these out and let everybody vote via, this ballot.
But you made a good point.
There's no way to do what?
You heard that on the news. You have no evidence. You've not been able.
I've heard a few people talk about that. And they said if this is the way it's going to go, then yes, we have a problem with that.
Well, and quite frankly, if that's the way it's going to go, I think most Democrats would have a problem with it too.
Well, the way we're hearing it is the Democrat-run states are the ones that are doing that.
And
I say doing that. I mean calling for that, to do that.
The news is telling you that's who's doing it. Have you seen a Democratic governor or a Democratic Secretary of State on camera say that they want universal mail-in voting?
No, I haven't heard that.
But you said you heard it on the news, but y'all are the ones always crying fake news. So how do you determine which news to believe?
Have you never taken something you heard from the news and just gone with it? Because, did you actually go look for to make sure that so-and-so said that? You got 2 or 3 news channels reporting this, saying they said that. Did you actually go look it up for the live video of it or something? You get what I'm saying? No, I didn't hear that. I've heard from the news that this is the possibility of it happening. And nobody has a problem with absentee voting. I was listening to KRMG, which is a talk radio station here in Tulsa.
Right.
It's a conservative station.
Okay.
And they were talking about this exact same thing, and they were spelling it out that this is what they were understanding people to be doing. Then they discussed absentee voting, and they're the same way. They're like, no, nobody has a problem with absentee voting because absentee voting requires you to identify who you are. People can't just fill out forms all willy-nilly and take them in there. On top of that, with all the extra voting on the ballots, the absentee, not absentee, but mail-in ballots, They're
Mhm.
worried about voter fraud coming directly from the U.S. Postal Service. How many times have you heard news stories about ballots or voting stuff being found in dumpsters? Comes from particular parties, and
How many
usually it's
times have you
Republican
how
party
many
shit
times
that
have
does
you
that.
seen news showing Louis DeJoy, the postmaster who Trump placed, just taking apart massive sorting machines to deliberately
You broke up. How many
slow
times have I
down
seen Trump say that again?
You're talking about stuff that you've seen on the news, and I'm presuming that you watch and or listen to. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Are you
Yeah,
getting
so
that,
am I.
Kevin?
I'm
I
getting
can't.
it too, Mike. Do you have your phone and your computer on?
God damn it! I need to be able to call in on a phone or something.
Well, you can do that too. Call my cell phone. I'll put you live on here. Turn that shit off.
Okay.
Call
All
my cell
right,
phone.
I'll be right here, Mike.
All right.
Oh, now we getting another. We might have be like a. Why I got to be in the middle of two dudes? This is like some weird thing.
Well, watch this. Check this out.
I can honestly say that has never happened.
How's
Can
that?
you, I don't know how to turn that off.
No, Mike is
Turn your
saying that.
volume off.
Well, he
Turn
needs
the
to get
volume
off
of the computer off.
the microphone. Yeah, mute it.
Mute that.
Shit.
She'll be able to hear you on the phone call and see your mouth move. See, that phone call thing was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Such a generic ringtone.
Talk, Mike.
That is not working.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
That's not gonna work, Kevin.
Jesus Christ. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what were you asking me?
You were saying that you were watching the news and you were here. You asked me how many times have you heard about, ballot or mail-in dumpsters or, whatever. And I asked you another question. How many times have you seen on the news about Louis DeJoy, the U.S. postmaster that Trump installed, who is literally like tearing down multi-million-dollar rapid sorting machines intentionally to slow down the mail-in ballot?
What? You turned down what? Rapid.
They have massive sorting machines at the U.S. Post Office and many of the post office. Okay, so Louis DeJoy has taken many of them out. You can talk to your postman. He's cut back on overtime hours. He's cut back on all these things under the guise of making the post office more efficient. But what it's really done is it's many people believe it is intended and or designed to slow down the mail, which would affect the election because ballots have to be received by a certain time. How many times have you heard about this on the news that you watch?
Hang on. So, if I'm following you right, you're justifying them throwing shit in the trash?
No. I'm no, because it's against the law. Number one. Number two, it's just rude. People's medicine is in there. People's, rent checks. You don't just go throwing away the mail of any variety, much less a ballot, which in this country is sacred.
Well,
That is not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to point out is the difference in the news that you and I receive. And so I was just asking about a story that runs on more liberal news quite often. And I wanted to know if you've ever heard of it on the news that you listen to.
Well, I don't watch MSDNC or Clinton News Network or any of those.
I'm not asking you if you watch them. I'm asking you if you've heard about this story. That's all I'm asking. Kevin, have you? Other than from me?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard anything talked about like that.
Okay. So the point I'm trying to make, and you both have made it, you saw something that parroted what you had seen on the news that you take in, and you took it as true.
Where did you hear about what you're talking about?
It's been in all over the news, everywhere. If you even watch local news, they will talk about the slowdown at the post office because old people who order their medicines and vets who order their medicines are getting their medicines 2 and 3 weeks late. I posted an article the other day from military.com. I sent it to Kevin. You saw it, yes?
And but I mean, are they saying that because the Postmaster General has gone through and I guess fucked up the Postal Service somehow?
Pretty much. Yeah.
No, I haven't.
That's the point.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying you didn't hear that.
No, and I'm not at
you
what.
Agree with me that there's very, very likely, because I think we both can agree, news gets twisted by both sides. I'm not going to sit here and say that I can go over here and get absolute straight news from Fox News, because what I do is if I want to know what my candidate's doing, I go over there and watch the Clinton News Network, because they're going to find any and every little piece of dirt they can come up with to knock him or.
Well, if you've been watching CNN, then you saw this story. And if you ever watch any of the hearings in Congress, he testified in Congress about it because they called him to the carpet because they're like, why are our military, our vets not getting, because if you're not familiar with the VA, most of their medicines get mailed.
Yeah.
So if you slow down the mail, you slow down life-saving medicine for America's heroes. I don't know about you, but that concerns me more than if some dumb disgruntled employee is throwing away a bag of mail. I mean, if it's proven that this is true.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, what I wanted to ask you was, what does that have to do with somebody throwing away a bunch of ballots that were, party whatever?
What it has to do with is the source of our information. And if we only get our information from one place and we do not, let's say, trust but verify, then you may be given a bag of goods. Because I've seen.
The story that I saw was probably not true, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying it's not true, but what I'm saying is that all of them, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all of them will take one little story and make it into a huge thing. They all do it. And they make it into a huge thing to fit their narrative. It's why I don't get my news from cable news, because they're not news channels. If you want news, read a paper. Go online, read a newspaper, because unlike TV shows, but here's the thing. Here's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know. Just because they have news in their name does not mean they are bound by facts. They can say whatever, because all of them, Hannity, Maddow, all of them are pundits. They're not journalists. They're not fact finders. They're celebrities talking about stuff and getting us all riled up. But if you want news, go to a newspaper, because if a newspaper prints something not true, they could be sued for libel. That is not the case for television shows.
Well, and listen here, I know we like to make these jokes, and I say the same damn thing you do about don't get your news from Facebook memes. But the truth is, news comes from everywhere, including Facebook memes, because 90% of the time, I don't hear about something until I see something about it on Facebook, and then I got to go look for it, and I got to go find out what the hell's going on.
No, and I get that. I do a lot of the same thing. I'll see a meme, and I'm like, but what I do before I share a meme, particularly on politics, is I verify it. I go and I look. I find multiple sources. That's all I'm saying. If people would research what they're saying, and that's why I was asking you about the ballots. 1 minute, and we're getting cut off.
Pterodactyl.
Kevin, you ain't got to shut this off. It ain't like the
Watch
networks are going to dock your pay if you let it run longer while we sit here and visit.
Well, I mean, I ain't trying to pick up on somebody from Ted Turner. He lives behind me.
He said we sit here and visit. I love him, old redneck. Love you, redneck.
I love you, man. I love you.
We visit. All right, y'all got 60 seconds. Maybe I should be the mediator for the next debate.
If you want to, we're going to keep talking. Anyway,
Well, we got to stay on topic though. So, Mike, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm gonna give you some homework. Find me some states that send it some universal mail-in ballots. Get me some evidence of it, or link me some like.
Yes. I've given you some information. What happens to you going verifying yourself?
Oh, I can do that. I can do that, and I will bring you right back here next Tuesday and tell you how wrong you were.
Come back and
take the list.
Happen. It just make me look that much harder. But my point is, I'm not even saying that it did happen. I'm saying that this was what was put out like they wanted to do. Now, this is the same argument we had over the Second Amendment. Whenever somebody said they're not trying to take your guns, you know, I can sit here and say that the liberals want to take our guns, and you can say, no, that didn't happen. Just like, you know, they didn't say that we're going to send out ballots to everybody. Well, somebody said it. It came from somewhere. It wouldn't have made the news.
You know, y'all like to tout me as a liberal. You know that I am a gun owner.
You're what?
I'm a gun owner. Does that surprise you?
I didn't call you anything, did I?
No, but you like to link. I'm a gun owner.
Ooh.
He's a cool.
Right.
You got.
You see what I'm saying? So for you to, this is the problem. We can't lump everybody into a group because people are more than just a liberal or a Democrat. They're people, right? And I think the important thing is for people like you who maybe think differently than people like me to be able to have a conversation about why we vote the way we vote, why we feel a certain way, without using memes that are designed to attack and designed to divide. Just have a conversation. Say, this is where I'm coming from. This is where he's coming. This is why we're doing this. Because memes can be hurtful. Like today, I got my feelings hurt.
They can't sit and talk about stuff because when it comes down to the truth, a lot of people can't handle the damn truth. You know, you tell me something that I'm wrong about, and you show me that I'm wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that. I'm going to do my homework this week, and when we come back next Tuesday.
I'm right 97% of the time. I don't give a shit about the other 4%.
Right.
Okay, so be back. Go, everybody go share. Everybody go share the page for me and share this video. All right, Mike, I'm gonna let you go. Go do your thing. We're gonna close.
You are absolutely adorable, Mike. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Say what?
You're adorable. Goodbye.
Okay, hey, look at that. It actually worked.
Look at that. I mean, I think there's a plug that you can get to plug into your computer that would make it not be so challenging. But that's just it.
So I like it that everybody's watching, and you know.
I agree with Nancy. Let's talk about this. I agree. Memes are funny, and I think if they're designed to be funny, you know what I mean? I do post memes, but what I don't post are memes that make a political statement that has misleading or false data within it. That's what I won't do. I will not contribute to this hurricane of nonsense. But I agree. Some memes are just really funny. The one with the picture of Pence's head with the fly on it. Or my favorite is the one of Ruth Bader Ginsburg with her posing in her Supreme Court chair, and it says, I sent the meme, or I sent the fly. That shit killed me. That was the other thing. Do we have time? I wanted to talk about the Supreme Court.
63 minutes and 54 seconds. Save it for next week and write some notes.
I got it.
Okay.
What did they want us to talk about? Some memes are funny, yeah.
Anybody want us to talk about a topic, just leave it in the comments here. I will go back tomorrow, check all the comments, and we will start talking about some other stuff from you guys. If anybody else would like to come on and they want to put their 2 cents in, we're all about that. As long as it's respectful and it, you know, there's no name calling, no bullshit. We can just talk. That's what we're here for. So anyway, everybody share the videos, share the page. Let's really try to get more people involved in this. It's a good thing. Even if it's a little mismanaged right this moment, this page is going to get a lot better as time goes on. And it's not always going to be about politics. Sometimes we're going to be bringing in other stuff we want to talk about. I personally have one I want to talk about, but I'm waiting a little bit because I want to get more people following the page before I bring it up. And yes, it involves the NFL. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, God.
But anyway, hey, I do you, boo. You do me. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not doing you, boo. I don't know what you. That's not what this is.
Oh,
Where's your wife at? I need to talk to her.
that's not what I meant. I do what you want. You do what I want.
No. I know, but the mystery of it, because I don't watch football, so I'm assuming it's going to be some kind of political slant to the NFL or their position or something.
There's a lot of it, and it's going to take up a little bit more. You know, it won't be a 3-part show like it was tonight. It's going to be a 2-part show, and because it's going to take me time, and I'm going to need people to chime in on it because it's a lot more important to me than just who stands and who kneels. There's a lot more to it for me. But anyway,
okay.
Everybody go.
Wait, I want to do one thing. I want to leave something.
Leave it.
I want to know if anybody watched the Senate confirmation hearing today and what they thought of the nominee. Okay, that's all I want to know. I just want to know what people thought of her because I would like to share what I thought of her, but I'll do that next week.
Look at this.
I apologize, Nancy.
But then Greg posts this up, and I gotta love him for it.
I love you, Greg Medina. You're my favorite. Oh my God, I adore you.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
He's always backing me up on my page. He's like, yeah.
He used to be real good friends with me back in the day. I'm not so sure he likes me that much anymore.
Because you post nonsense. I almost broke up with you too.
Oh, it's my dashing smile that's saving me. Anyway, I love you, girl. Go have a good night.
I love you. Have a great night. Good night, everyone. Thank you.